reaching my truth. I don't want to have people who alienate me even more than I am already. I want to have people by my side who make me the courage to look at me as the most shameful. I have to have people who help me reconcile with my failures, to have a healthier life with these ages of life that so often prevent me from living forgiveness, from living reconciliation, and finding the new version I can have of me. The experience of forgiveness is very difficult for this. It is only possible to forgive when there is knowledge authority. Simplify that. You have a hurt against a person. Sometimes that hurt was caused by a difficult time that you lived with that person, and you were so hostage to yourself that you were unable to realize that that person had no intention. Or if she was apparently malicious, she was not intelligent on her part to keep that offense. Keep that grudge, because you were at that moment. Keeping that hurt. Choosing the worst part of life. That you might well say, I don't forgive because I have reason not to forgive. This is an irrational way to understand the offense. This is a way for you to continue giving authority to the one who offended you. Because while you do not forgive, what you are doing is giving authority to those who offended you. Still stroking continues to hurt. Forgiveness, he has the power to free us from this. Does not mean that you will resume friendship with that person. Does not mean that you will open a new space in your life. If I find myself with you, I will treat you very well. I will not want your evil. I will do everything. You do not go to the list of those people. I have a bad habit of badly to say. I will put you inside me in a way to teach me. Look, that person was so cruel to me, but I learned from her. This is forgiving. It is because sometimes we are not very aware of this, and sometimes we need to pay therapists for us to learn these rules. What you are seeing from me today is just one being obeying another or many others that I have been and are not resolved within me. Every time I think of forgiveness, every time I speak of my ability or inability to forgive, I am closely speaking. First, the ability I have to reconcile with me. Because if I do not reconcile with me, if you do not reconcile with you, we will hardly be able to reconcile with others. To forgive is to reconcile. I need to forgive me, Fabio, who didn't realize many things. You need to forgive you, the woman, the man, who was so often unable to fulfill what was asked. To forgive is that you live reconciled with you. It is the first instance of all forgiveness. In fact, the instance of all human reality originates in each of us. This is not an egocentric thought. It is not an irresponsible form of understanding reality. No, whenever you want to understand the world, understand yourself. Whenever you have the desire to look at a particular reality, see, and you, we need to do the same scene daily. Put the table or bed where you feel more comfortable. The phases of life. Self-knowledge is that. It is you to have the opportunity to know who you were as a child. What were your fears? What were the first difficult times in your history? Who was on your side? What did you hear from these people? What traumatized you at that time? What did you free you at that time? All. Everything we went to, we need to be aware. Because sometimes we want to forgive today, but we have no authority to forgive. And you will understand that. Authority comes to us only through knowledge. I can only forgive a few phases within me and get rid of the weights they impose me these days, if I can know it. Psychology teaches us this. What is trauma? It is a reality that does not fit within us. Trauma is any and all events that our emotion or our emotional ability is not able to solve at that time. Of course, in childhood, I say, because we do not have the filters of maturity, the filters of intelligence, discernment, common sense. We are much more easily traumatized than in adulthood. Today, when you suffer a loss, when you suffer an offense, a betrayal, You have emotional resources that help you get out of it. You have friends who come, tell you, invite you to leave. You have the resources of your profession. You take something to do, will occupy your mind, will try to rebuild the fact within you, and you follow. I know the formula is not magic, and if it were, we wouldn't believe her. I never believed in magic formulas, but this formula is effective. If you choose to forgive, as hard as it may be, if you choose to tear from yourself, your mind, harmful, damaged feelings, so often you will reach this new version of yourself much easier. This is what I wish, from the bottom of my heart, that you remain unprecedented to yourself, for yourself. Seeking in your daily life the realities that still need to be forgiven. The people who still need to be reinterpreted so that all this stop being an obstacle in your personal fulfillment. I have a deep respect for the human condition. It has always been very exciting to have the opportunity to reach the heart of a person. Of course, everything we see from outside is just a part. It's just a detail of the whole that person is. When we are facing a person, we have no idea what was part of their story, everything that was metabolized, well-lived, forgotten, or put in place of memory that helps us, but we have no idea how many failures that person carries in himself, how many sufferings, how many fights, how many battles, how many fights, how many battles. I never had the understanding of destiny in my life or in the life of those who pass me. I always like to understand as a freedom process that sometimes appears to me more easily. But I am free to choose. I choose what makes me wrong. I choose what makes me good. And the fate we are building like this, Adriana. We have no control of everything, but we know that the more conscious we are, the more our intuition is open, and this is a fruit of spirituality. You have its intuition the more dilated. We call it the state of presence, which is when you are in fact where you are. You have people's perception. You can know if that person is good or not, whether it is good for you or not. So this warning state is the first step for our choices to be more favorable. So I think living is always a choice. I have no control of what to choose, but I do everything to choose well. Because I know that when I choose well, the return of it is more favorable. The more we will understand each other, the more we become free. Even to come to the conclusion that taking this weight is not intelligent. Why is sometimes so difficult for you to convince a person to throw the grudge away? Because the person who needs to decide is not yet the adult of today that we can see. Who needs to be convinced is the girl who was once injured, who was one day hurt, who was once abandoned, who was once betrayed. Yes, it is the phases of our lives that we need to dive into the waters of forgiveness. Sometimes I find myself with some people I was talking to my life with, and they try to remember what happened. I have, thank God, a short memory for what was not good. How was it? Why did we fight? What was the reason? You don't read anymore. Maturity sign. Sign that who has failed to send me, who failed to give orders to me, is the child. Could you say, Father, is it only possible when I do a therapy? No. Therapy is even a very important moment of this process. But I have learned, and it is for me spiritual life, which has nothing to do with religion. Spiritual life is not a privilege of religious. Spiritual life is all that inspires me, everything that blows breath inside me, which keeps me up. And human research, the search for itself, is the most beautiful exercise of spiritual life. Every time I try to know myself, every time I try to investigate myself, that I spend these phases of life trying to understand, talking to my mother, talking to my father, with my older brothers, with whom he saw me at a time when I was not yet able to see myself. When the process is very unconscious, sometimes one does not know that they are doing it. Sometimes that difficulty we can identify today, as I said at the beginning. I look at you, and I see the woman you have become. But I have no idea who commands you. When I have a part of me that was not properly healed by forgiveness, when I did not reconcile with it, I had to be very tamed for it. And sometimes this is a form that has already become conscious. Then the person knows that he feels that way, and he thought it comfortable feeling that way, because that way, he can get people's attention. It requires loss, right? It requires knowing how to lose. So okay, I'll give up this poor thing that I am. This boy who is all the time crying, asking for attention. Consequently, I get more in the need to act, to make decisions. This week, Adriana, I say I have a deep love for architecture. I love a beautiful house. I love a beautiful church, a beautiful theater. But I started to note that when we adults, we sat with the architects to do a project of our home. Who sits with them is usually the needy children who are still in need of many square meters to feel good in life, and they swim in the arm. Because then they build huge houses that will give us a terrible maintenance, and we will use a few square meters of that environment. But in fact, the very large house, the house with huge doors, with huge rooms, that can house 70 families inside. Because if I were, of course, I may well be free and want a big house. But then it is the adult who is deciding. It is not the needy child, who has never had anything and now has, who needs to show others that she is powerful, that she has risen in life, that she has overcome poverty. No, that's what I'm saying. A job we need to do with many, and I do this with me all the time, and many people who come to me for a spiritual direction. That's it. Have the courage to recognize in you what it is comfortable to keep. There are people, I think those who watch us know very well what we are talking about. He discovered the state of victim as a comfortable place, because it is from that state of victim that she catches the attention of people. But that is not living, this is semi-life. To live is to be free from it. Even too, at the moment, if you want to make a charm, get someone's attention, you are free and aware of it. Look, I'll make a charm here to get my husband's attention today, or my boyfriend, my girlfriend. It's even free to decide this. But when this is an unconscious process, it is a lot of suffering, because the person has that posture and does not know exactly how to change it. So we, in the experience of forgiving and being forgiven, I have no doubt. Those who forgive, although the voice is the man of today, who is really forgiving is the child who still has to draw attention to his pain, to his trauma, to his suffering. Sometimes I find grudge, hurt people. And if you ask, but why did you become that way? She can't say. Of course, it has one fact or another, but that is too small for so much bitterness, for so much suffering. What was that person so definitive, so striking, so that at that stage of life, it would continue to giving orders to this day? This is so present in us, and I believe that as I'm talking, you will follow me, and you are reading your life. How many insecurities of today you can't understand? Storing grudges, storing resentment, is you declared yourself as a waste chest, where everything that is no good is still there, because you never play outside, make the favorable decision to correct what within you is still rancor, the difficult story you had with your father, with your mother. Don't be a slave to that. Look at your father and find the reasons for forgiving. Did not do it because I wanted to. It was moved by the situations of that moment. Look at your mother. Find out what are the differences you had and why they were so determinant. Forgive, for you not to reproduce with your children the same mistakes. But surely we are going to do this every day. I need to look at Fabio, who was in the morning. Fabio, who arrives at the end of the day, is another. Sometimes more tired, hurt with something that happened throughout the day. and I freely choose what I will keep for tomorrow. What would you like to leave, don't take with me? What would I like to forgive? What would I like to dispense with? There is a hit to be done daily. And unfortunately, because we don't make these daily hits, we get sick because of our lack of forgiveness. We got sick because we were unable to renounce what they gave us, who hurt us. As I said, I need to particularize. If I want to get to a better version of me, I need to look at today what I lived, what I need to forgive, what I lived, the people I hurt, the people who hurt me. Live a reconciliation with these people so that tomorrow, when the day receives me, I am a little lighter than it was today. It is not being hostage to that child who has been very injured in the past and now has difficulty dealing with what it offends. Because a sign of our immaturity, a sign that we are still under ancient ages, is precisely that we have the illusion that we can never be hurt by others. No, we will be hurt. We will be betrayed. We will be wrong. Yes, it is part of life. Regrettably, not everyone is vibrating in a frequency of love, kindness, respect for others, solidarity. But my maturity will keep me standing. I will not keep that spirit of victim looks poorly of me. I was betrayed once again because sometimes those who are taking this attitude now, although it is a manifestation of the man who is the one who is giving the order, saying is a victim to look like a poor dog face that fell from the change, is that child who has not yet been forgiven in meal. So this psychology tells us all that we do not heal in us. We tend to reproduce on others, to impose on others, to impose on others, to impose on others. This is very cruel, because we miss the happy opportunity to make our lives worthwhile. Yes, I never, in my vast experience, in the many meetings that life has already provided me with the priest, I have never found a person to be happy, because they chose to be grumpy, hurt, enemy of forgiveness. On the contrary, the happiest people I found in my life are those who are reconciled to them. They are those who made the peace with the phases of life that were difficult. They are those who decided to reconcile with their families, with those who put them suffering, with those who betrayed them, with those who deceived them, because they understood that the smartest way of living is planting and sowing gratitude. Gratitude will never flourish in a heart that hates. Gratitude can never grow in a conscience, a mind occupied by hatred and resentment. When you get rid of that child's weights, you are free now to look into the eyes of the one who offended you. Look into the smile without cynicism. It's not about being cynical and saying goes in peace. It's all right. You owe me nothing, no resentment, no hurt. Because I make a point of doing this exercise. He is of intelligence. He is of inner freedom. He is expression of good taste. Is it? As you reconcile with that child and she stops giving you the orders for you to get hurt, upset, you opt for a more mature and smart posture. It is definitely not intelligent to keep hurt. It is definitely not intelligent to keep grudges, collect failures, disappointments. If you have that ease of telling in detail the disastrous fact or betrayal that happened to you 20 years ago, it may be a sign that your betrayed child, insecure, has not yet been cured, because the trend of intelligent forgiveness is precisely for